when you build an assessment in Gomo, there's a very simple way to give feedback to the learner, as we'll see. We're going to build an assessment in a moment. And that feedback just says things like, well done, you got this many questions right, and you passed and you got this score. And usually that's fine, but there are times where we might want to give more detailed feedback, particularly to be able to say, you chose this answer to that question and got it wrong. And here's a link for you to go and review the material. So that more sort of granular level of feedback can be really useful, and we can do that in Gomo. So let's have a look and see how we do that. So I'm going to go into Gomo. Again, if you're completely new to Gomo, just to point out that it's entirely cloud-based. I happen to be on a Mac using Chrome, but of course you can be under Windows using Edge or whatever your preferred platform and browser is. I'm going to log in here and I'm going to access my team account. And I'm just going to jump in and I'm going to build a course. So particularly those of you who are completely new to Gomo, you can see that process. And once we've built the framework course, we're going to go in and start adding in questions, turn them into an assessment, and then give this detailed feedback. So I just click on create a new course. I'm just going to call it feedback. And here I'm just going to build a single language course, but remember that Gomo's got this great strength of enabling you to build a single course containing multiple languages, so the learner can just switch between the languages. You can either translate those yourselves within the tool, you could send the translations out to a translation agency, or now we actually have AI-based auto-translation, and to cover that in separate sessions. Let's click next. This is about giving the look and feel, the branding to a course through what we call themes. So I'm going to select the Ponte theme, which I can then edit, maybe to match brand colors, upload brand fonts. This is about the structure of a course. So remember that a Gomo course isn't just like a PowerPoint deck where you start at the beginning slide and go to the end. You structure your course into these top-level building blocks called topics. So you might have a topic about, say, the company's history, another topic about company's products and services. In turn, those topics are broken down into a sequence of screens. So here I'm going to say, I want an introduction, I want a menu. I'm just going to take default number of topics, 3 topics. One of those is going to be my assessment topic. These are the elements which appear in the toolbar, so they'll always be available to the learner, like help and glossary. I don't need a language selector because I'm just making this a single language course. I'm just going to click create. It's going to create an outline course structure for me. And it's going to put in some sample content to get us started. By the way, do feel free to use the question panel. If you've got any comments or questions, you'll see a little question icon there in your GoToWebinar panel, and I'll try and monitor that as we move along. So here's my top-level view of the course. These are the topics. I've got an introduction leading to a menu, simple branching out to the learning topics. Of course, if I wanted to, I could have more complex structures. I could ask the learner to select their job role or job function at the beginning. Gomo could remember that choice, and then what the learner sees on any given screen, or even their whole journey through the course, can depend on the choice that they've made using a technique called display conditions, and we're going to be using display conditions today. So we've got our course, and of course I can easily just preview that. So select Actions, Preview, just opens up another tab. We can see how it all fits together and jump in and edit. So things like the blue of the toolbar, that's coming from the theme that I can change, along with the fonts. I could upload custom fonts there. It's generated a menu for me, and we're going to take one of these topics to be the assessments, and it's given us some sample content. And of course, one of the beauties of Gomo content, it will automatically adjust itself to any screen size, any device, any orientation. So you don't need to build desktop versions, move it around for tablet, move it around again for smartphone. At the top here, I can quickly check how this is going to look across devices. Again, just reflows the text on the tablet size. Smartphone, it stacks my columns. So from the learner's point of view, it still fills the screen. It's simple swipe up and down. Everything else fits into this app-like view automatically. So I don't need to worry about the branding. The theme will take care of that. Don't need to worry about whether it's going to work across different screens and devices. We know it's going to do that because Gomo is fully responsive. So let's take one of these topics, and I'm going to right mouse click. Always a good idea to label your topics in your screens here. So I'm going to call this the assessment topic. and just update that. So now it's saying, here's my assessment. Right, let's go into this topic here. It just opens up another tab. Let's go into the editor. Very quick guided tour in case you haven't seen the Gomo editor before. So on the left-hand side here, I've got my navigator panel. This shows me the screens that I have in this particular topic. I can have as many screens as I want within a topic. When I click on one of those screens, it loads the content in the content area. Here we've just got some dummy text that Gomo's put in there, but it can contain a wide range of what we call assets, these interactions. So at the top here, if I have a look at the assets, I can be adding in audio and video, wide range of these pre-built interactions like film strips and carousels to show a sequence of images. We can have interactive image like image markers so the learner can click on different parts of the image to get more information. We can add a bit of gamification, say you've got 10 seconds to answer a question, and a wide range of question types. And we can take a couple of these question types today and have a look at how those work. So within the screen as well, I don't need to worry about nudging things into pixel perfect positioning. We work in these blocks and columns, and that's how Gomo will reflow the layout across different screen sizes. Also, I don't need to worry about fonts and colors and so forth. My theme takes care of that. So when I'm editing, there's no font button. I select a style, and how that will appear will depend on how it's set up in my branding, in my theme there. So let's go in and first of all, I'm going to get rid of the dummy content from there. So let's start to build an assessment. So first thing I'm going to do is just have one screen that's going to say, this is the intro. And all I'm going to do is put in some text here to say, this is where you'd explain that they're about to do an assessment and what's expected and so forth. Here I'm just going to say, click next to start the assessment and so forth. Okay, nothing too dramatic at the moment, just added in some text. Now let's just add in a couple more screens because I want to get in some questions. So the first one I'm going to put in multiple choice. Okay. And those of you who've been on the previous webinar about setting up assessments, this will all be quite familiar to you. It's really the assessment results screen is where we're going to do something a bit more interesting. So let's put in the question text, question stem. So the usual default multiple choice question, where is Gomo's headquarters? And now we're just going to choose how the learner answers that. And I'm going to choose just a multiple choice question. So basically there's only one right answer. And I'm just going to say you only have one attempt. And also I'm going to say that I don't want any feedback because we're going to gather up all of this feedback at the end. So particularly in assessment, typically you'd have the one question after the other. You're not saying to the learner whether they got it right or wrong as they go through it. You're going to do that at the end. So here I can just select in the Advanced tab, no feedback. Again, if you're already a Gomo user, this is a little addition just to make things easier that we added to all question types, so you can just specify there that you don't want any feedback to the learner. Okay, what I'm also going to do is I can attach an action to this question. So as soon as I've answered the question, I want it to do something, namely to move on to the next screen, to the next question. So I say actions. What I want to do here is link to the next screen. So again, this is sort of quite traditional assessment type behavior. You show a question, they answer, you don't give them feedback, you immediately take them to the next screen, and then we gather up the feedback at the end. So there's one. Let's put in select from list, where we're looking for the right pattern of answers. Again, I just add in some text in there. And this one will just say, which of the following are true? Okay, select one or more. Okay, apologies for my typing here. Okay, so that's the actual question stem. So to answer it, I go to the question assets and again, select from list. And again, what we're looking for here is the right pattern of answers. And in fact, here I'm going to say with the defaults, yeah, they have to select all of those options. So again, I'm going to say I don't want any feedback. So select no feedback, and also they only have one attempt. Again, traditional assessment behavior there. And also I want to move on straight away to the next screen. So again, I just attach an action, the same action, say link to next screen. Okay, so I've now got an introduction. I've got 2 questions in there. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add in the results screen. So just label it as results. And the first thing we do here is the thing that's going to turn a bunch of questions into an assessment is this assessment results asset. It's a special type of asset in the question section here. It does all the hard work for us. It's going to add up all the scores and so forth. So in here, if I click on this, this is where we can set the pass mark. This is also where I can be tracking the score back to the learning management system that's launched the course. And also I can determine whether I'm going to set the course completion. Again, I'm going to leave the default there. Again, in terms of completion, I cover that in one of our other webinars about assessments. Now here, in terms of the feedback that I can give, we've got 3 panels here where we can give a message. Here, bad luck, you didn't pass, for example, you only scored. Notice here, we just zoom in a bit there. We can do some basic markup here. We can insert a percentage score. We can display that they got, say, 1 question out of 2 right, and so on. Or if they've done particularly well, that's the high pass mark, we can give a message there. So by default, these are the sort of broad categories of a message if you fail, message if you pass, but then also a different message if you wanted, if they do particularly well, like you got them all right. Right, let's just see what this gives us now. So what I'm going to do here is just zoom a bit there and go to my first screen and preview. Okay, click to start the assessment. Here's my first question. No feedback, immediately goes on to the next question. No feedback. So now it's telling me that I got 1 right out of 2 and scored 50%. That's fine. I mean, it's useful feedback, and typically that might be all that you want to tell the learner. But we might want to give deeper insights to the learner about, because here I don't know which question I got right or wrong, because I didn't get any immediate feedback after the question. This is where we can, first of all, reflect back to them what answers they chose. And we do that using a technique called asset variables. So each of these assets, in this case, say a multiple choice question, select from list question, they remember their answer, that in fact what the learner selected, or if it's a text input, what the learner typed in. And we can get Gomo to display what was being selected using asset variables. And we do that by, I'm going to go to my multiple choice question. Click on the asset. Now, again, let me just zoom in here. Zoom in. Get there eventually. Now, I hope that you can just see over GoTo that each of these elements on the screen has an ID. That's this long ID here. This isn't just a random series of numbers and letters. It's a unique reference to this particular thing, this asset, where it shows us the unique course ID, the topic ID, IO6, the screen ID, so I'm on screen number 2, and also the asset ID, AO2, so I'm on the second asset here. And that gives us a unique reference to that particular thing, which we can then use, in this case, to display what's been selected. So here I'm going to go to the results screen. I'm going to add in some more text here. And here I'm going to say that your answer to question 1 was, now I want to display what answer they selected. So I need to reference that asset, that MCQ. And we do that by using, this is sort of as close as you get to programming in Gomo. So I got to use here what I call double curly brackets, double curly braces, whatever term you would use. And now I put in the words asset underscore variable, because I want to get at what's actually stored in this asset, dot, and now I just paste in that unique asset ID. So what, and then double curly brackets to close that. So what this is saying is go and get whatever is stored in this particular asset and display it here. Let's just see how that works and see whether I've done that right. So let's go back to the start here. Let's go to our preview. Right, let's click next to start the assessment. Okay, let's get that one wrong. We'll just select the same answers again. Okay, so now you see it's actually telling me what answer I selected. But that's fine, but I still don't know whether I got that right or wrong. And that's where we can start to use another technique here, and that's called custom variables. So I'm going to go back to edit this, and I'm going to say, first of all, and that was right. And I'm going to add in another piece of text here. And I'm going to copy the same text, because now I'm going to have a message about whether I've got it wrong. So I've got one thing that says, oh, well, you selected this to question 1. That was right. And then another one that says, well, you selected this for question 1. That was wrong. Obviously, we don't want both of those messages to appear at the same time. This is where we use display conditions, where we can show or hide things on the screen based on certain things happening. And the way that we can do that is here. Let me just go back. Okay, we know that we've got, this is the correct value, Brighton, comma, space UK. So what I can do is go to my results screen, add a display condition. So we've got a wide range of displays conditions, and we've used different ones in other webinars, like the screen status to lock screens and so forth. But what I'm going to use is this one here called custom variable. This is a really interesting advanced display condition, where here I can test for values that are stored in an asset. In this case, what answers were selected in a particular question. And first of all, I'm just going to, the value I want to test for is Brighton, UK. And I'm just going to quickly go and get the other thing that we need to do is to get the asset ID of the thing that we're looking at. Where was that value stored? So here, I'm just going to go back in here because that is the asset ID. I've already got that. So back into my display condition and paste that in there. So what we're saying is if what's contained in this asset ID, that MCQ, is Brighton, UK, then show that piece of text. Now what I can do on this piece of text, we're going to use the same display condition, namely the custom variable. And again, I'm going to put in the asset ID because we're monitoring the same question. Let's check that I've got that right. But this time we're going to say if it's not equal to the correct answer. So, and the correct answer there was Go back to my original display condition. Again, want to make sure I've got exactly the right wording here. So on this one, display condition. So if what's stored in there is not equal to Brighton, UK, then display that message to say, oh, you got it wrong. So again, let's just recap here. I put in two pieces of text. Both of them display what's contained in the particular asset by referencing its unique asset ID. And I found the unique asset ID by going to the MCQ question itself. And when I click on that at the top right, there's the ID. And I simply copied that from there. So I then displayed that by putting double curly brackets, asset underscore variable dot, and then the unique reference. And we saw that that then displayed the option I'd selected. I've got two pieces of text. I only want to show one piece of text. So we add a display condition to tell Gomo when it should display it. So the one that says your answer to question one was this, and that was right. I added in this display condition based on custom variable, again referencing that unique. I've got a mistake there. I should have removed asset ID. So we're looking for that unique reference to that MCQ. We're saying if what's in there is Brighton, UK, then display this text. And the other one was, well, if it doesn't contain that text, which means they've got it wrong, they didn't select that answer, display the one that says, and that was wrong. Okay, let's go back and try this, see whether I've put in the right logic here. So click next to start the assessment. Okay, let's get it right first of all. And just move on there. There we go. So I'd selected your answer to question one was Brighton, UK, and that was right. And now I could, let's just check what happens when I get it wrong. So here we go. Start the assessment. So I'll select the wrong answer. Right, confirm. There we go. So it's saying you selected New York and that was wrong. And we could do that for all of the questions in the assessment by looking for particular things that are stored within that particular asset, that question asset. But just finally, we can just go slightly further than that, because I can also, I might want to say, well, also, if they got it wrong, I might want to say, well, review, go back and review that material. So what I could do there, I could add in a button, say label it review, and I could say that when they click that button, it's going to take them to, say, a particular topic that references, or even a particular screen that references that particular material that the question was about. And then what I can do is just add in exactly the same display condition. So first of all, I'm going to just take the asset ID. So basically, I want to display it at the same time as we display, so custom variable, asset ID, and say Brighton, comma, space UK. So if it's not equal to that, display that. Okay, so we've got two things that should display if we've got that first question wrong. Let's just finally have a quick check of that. Previews. Next to start the assessment. Right, let's get it wrong. Second question there. So here we go. So now it's saying, well, you got that wrong. And now I've got a button that I could click, and this review button would only appear if I've got the question wrong. And that would link me back to a different part of the course there. So again, that's sort of quite a common thing that we get asked about, how to give more detailed feedback, and then can we direct the learner back to relevant parts of the course for things that they've got wrong. So we've used asset variables and custom variables there.